He asked me on his birthday, which is beginning of July. And even though I liked him and I was only seeing him, I was still feeling like maybe I don't know him well enough. So at first I said yes, and then I took it back and I was like, maybe we should wait a little bit longer. But he took it really well.
When she need like a little bit of time, then I said like, yeah, like take all the time you want. Like I know I'm not going anywhere, and I had a strong feeling she's not going anywhere either.
Slowly moved to you living together, having two super adorable dogs. Welcome to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. My name is Christina, and in today's podcast episode, I'm going to welcome Megan, who is from the US, and Pratyush, who is from India. And going through their story, I've noticed that we have some similarities, because their love story is also a Tinder success love story. They are reunited, as you're going to see in a bit. They've had quite a journey of cultural misunderstandings, of adapting to one another, and basically diving head over heels into a life they wouldn't have expected living someday. So again, so many similarities to Nachos and my love story, because honestly, if you would have asked me 8 or 9 years ago that someday I'll find myself in Buenos Aires living together with an Argentinian trying to learn a third language, I would have thought that you are crazy. But here we are. Now we're talking to Megan and Pratyush. They're going to share their love story. And with this being said, let's dive directly into it. Thank you so much for being here today. Who are you? What are you doing? Tell us all about you.
Hi, I'm Pratyush. I'm from India. I moved to the United States like in about 2014. So I came here as a student actually, like to do my master's degree. I first moved to Chicago, which itself was like quite a drastic, in terms of weather, because like I come from India where even our winters at the most we have like maybe 10-15 degrees Celsius. Second day that I was here, we had a polar vortex with negative 40 temperature. So that itself was like quite a shock to me. And when I did first come here, I was like, oh my God, like, did I make a mistake coming all the way here? It was like challenging at first, but thankfully, like I already had a friend who was living here, going to the same university. So he was my roommate as well. So he made it a little easy for me. And once I was done with my master's over there in Chicago, I found a job in Ohio in a city called Toledo. That's where Megan is from. So a couple of months after I moved there, like that's when I met Megan. We've been like together since then, since 2016, getting close to 9 years. And I'm sure like, we're going to go much in detail about that. But I'm an industrial engineer by profession, by the way. We currently live in North Carolina. That's where we both work. I'm an industrial engineer for Honda Jet. So what they do, like they make private jets. Basically, it's always been a passion of mine to like, work in the aviation industry and living the dream, I guess.
Hi, I'm Megan. I was born in the US, so I don't have like he pretty much told all the details of the story. He didn't leave much for me. But I was born in Ohio, and that's where I met him after like meeting on Tinder and everything. And then we lived together in Ohio for a while, but then we relocated, like he said, to North Carolina, where we live now. I used to be an ultrasound tech, a vascular ultrasound tech, but I don't work in that field anymore. So right now I'm working at an eye doctor's office, and I'm taking classes for social media marketing, which is something that I have more interest in than the medical field, honestly.
It became your passion over the past few years, sharing your story as well. Recipes. I know that you're cooking Indian dishes as well from time to time. So you share some insights into your daily life, which I love. I find it very interesting. And what I love as well is that you guys, as mentioned, some aspects of your story, how you met. So you're quite open-minded when it comes to this. And this brings us to the question, how did you meet? I mean, you mentioned Tinder success story, as mentioned in the introduction as well. But what was the setting? What were the first messages you sent one another? And how did it evolve from there?
I'll tell my side of the story first because he has more to say, like usual. So I had gotten out of a relationship prior to this, and then eventually I thought maybe I just wanted to meet somebody new, and then I finally wanted to find somebody to really connect with, I guess. So I just got on Tinder, and I wasn't actually taking it that seriously the day when I met him or when I swiped on him. But I saw him and I actually looked him up on Facebook because I was like, there's no way there can be that many Pratyushas nearby, right? So I found him and I thought that we had similar interests and it seems like we could at least be friends. So I swiped right on him. It was not an instant match. I was like, why is it not an instant match? He didn't swipe on me. So I just closed it and I kind of forgot about it, to be honest, until he messaged me. So he can tell his side of the story now.
So yeah, my side of the story is actually a little more interesting. Right after I got my job and I moved to Ohio, my mom was telling me, I mean, it's not like she would have ever forced me into it, but arranged marriages are kind of common in India. So my mom was like, I'll give you like a year's time, find someone on your own. If not, I'll start looking for you. She was joking, obviously, but at that point, I was already like, I was single for like a couple of years at that point. Like my previous relationship was like almost like 2 years ago or something. And I'm new to the city, like don't know too many people. And I also like travel a lot for work. I didn't get like chance to like make many friends at work either because we were always like on the road. I wanted to find new people. So I thought like, okay, I'll get on Tinder. I'll see like if there are any interesting people that I can match with and go on. Like, if we could, worst case scenario, we could just be friends. If things are good, like then, we can see where it goes. Megan was not the first one that I was talking on that. Like I matched with another girl. We had like a few conversations. So we decided to like meet like on a Saturday of a particular week. So the weekend before that, I was telling my roommate I matched with this girl on Tinder, so I'm going to meet her next Saturday. And my roommate at that point, like he's never used Tinder before, so he was like, "Hey, I've never used this. Can you show me how this app works?" So I opened Tinder on my phone, and the first person that was on there was Megan actually. So I said, okay, so this girl is kind of cute, so I'll swipe right on her. Not kind of, she's very cute. So I'll swipe right on her. When I did, it was an instant match because she already swiped on me like a couple of weeks prior to that. And I wasn't like using Tinder for the 2 or 3 weeks at that point because I was like talking to another girl. I didn't want to like talk to like multiple girls at the same time. After that, like I showed some of the app features to my roommate. We were done for the night. We didn't really like talk about it again. But the next day I was actually traveling for work. And when I was at the airport waiting for my flight, I thought, okay, well, I matched with this girl. Like, let me text her and see how it goes. And then I texted her and then we continued like texting for the next 3-4 days nonstop. We really like hit it off right away. And then I asked her like if she wanted to meet me, go on a date with me. And she said yes. And we decided to meet on Friday, which was supposed to be like a day before I was supposed to meet that other girl. We went on a date and I really liked her. We really hit it off. So I didn't want to go on a date with another girl again. And so I really knew, but at that point, I'm like more interested in her. So I told that other girl, hey, I'm sorry, like I can't meet you. She was a little upset, but I think like it was best for both of us that like, I don't date multiple people and it's not fair to Megan, not fair to that girl. So I canceled my date with her and we've been, it was a success story for us. So
What did impress you the most that you decided to meet Megan further to have the first date as well?
she was just the sweetest girl ever that I've ever talked to it. So that was the first thing that I liked. And she's like really kind hearted. And you could just tell like from the way not only like talks to me, but like, even when we're at the restaurant, like the way she was talking to the wait staff or whatever, like you can just tell from those little details, like what kind of person she would be. Those are like the two main qualities that I really admired about her right away. And her being so beautiful, also helped the cause.
Now I'm beautiful, but I was kind of cute at the beginning of the story.
This is an upgrade. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a win. I mean, I understand, as mentioned, we met on Tinder, and okay, you can describe a little bit about your persona to make you more interesting on Tinder. But usually it is quite like the first look is what's counting. The first picture, the profile picture, because that's the picture you see when swiping as well. And then you get to know a person. So I understand that you were like, okay, Megan is kind of cute. She's kind of nice as well.
Well, English is not my first language, so I do tend to make mistakes like that.
He tends to use that excuse a lot.
I wonder if you can use it. It's actually interesting that you're still using it after so many years, because it's not working for me anymore. I've tried it in the beginning. It's not working. No, 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 no. After so many years, I mean, okay, the first 2 years is fine.
I don't think it ever worked for me, but I still keep using it.
So what happened afterwards? So you had your first date, you realized there's a chemistry, we would like to get to know each other further. How was the date? How excited were you? I would love to know a little bit more about that first date.
I don't actually remember why, but in the beginning phases, he called me. I don't know. Was it because I investigated you? He called me Sherlock. So he ended up taking me for our first date to a restaurant called Doc Watson's, like Sherlock and Watson, right? So we went to dinner and then we went to a drive-in movie. And I don't remember what movie we saw. Do you remember what movie we saw?
I think it was Independence Day or something. So
Independence Day.
basically, when I was like traveling for work just prior to our first date, I was in California for work, and one of those evenings, like I went to meet a friend, and we went to watch a drive-in movie, like me and my friend. So when I was texting her that, she said like she's never been to a drive-in movie before. So immediately I looked up like drive-in places in Toledo so that I could take her over there. That way, like she could experience it. I used to call her Sherlock, so she was like calling me Watson because I was calling her Sherlock. So there was a bar called Doc Watson's near her house. We went there first, and then from there, like after dinner, like we went to the drive-in movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as you know, in like drive-in movies, you just sit in the car and like you watch the movie on the big screen outside, which kind of helped us because we weren't really paying attention to the movie. We were
No.
like busy like talking and getting to know each other without disturbing anyone else.
Yeah,
Because
that's why I don't remember what movie we saw because we were talking throughout the whole movie, so
Yeah.
I did not watch it.
yeah, and initially I just assumed like we were going to like stay there till the movie ends and then we're going to leave. But that place actually does like back-to-back movies. After the first movie was done, like another movie started playing. I think it was some kind of animated movie. I don't remember what it was either. But we just like kept talking with each other and like just getting to know each other like throughout both the movies. So we were there for nearly like 4.5 hours. My roommate at that point, like he was kind of getting nervous, like it's getting late and you hear about all these Tinder scams where like, people like try to honey trap you and then like they loot you or whatever, like those kind of things do happen once in a while. So my roommate was actually worried like, hey, like, did you really go on a date or like did someone scam you and like, robbed you and like left you alone? But yeah, that's how long we stayed there at the movies. And then like I drove her home and then immediately we decided like, yeah, like we should definitely meet again. Unfortunately, I think the only thing that was missing from that first date was we both forgot to take a picture of us together.
Yeah, we didn't take any pictures that day, unfortunately.
So we don't have that memory, but it was good. It was great. So
he was very different than anyone else that I had ever gone on a first date with. He brought flowers. I never had anyone bring me flowers before, so that was nice. And he was just very like sweet and easy to talk to. So that's what did it for me. I felt very comfortable with him like right away.
And you both were sure that there's going to be a second date, obviously, as well. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have had the thought for a second or for a few more seconds to take a picture. So you both realized what we're having right now is something very special.
I think we were both so focused on like our conversation and the date that we just like we didn't even to like think about taking pictures or really even bother with our phones that much, to be honest. I think that's why we didn't do it.
And after I dropped her off and I was driving back home, I knew she was going to be a serious one right away.
What did you know?
I knew she was going to be a serious one, a serious relationship. Yeah.
And it evolved quite fast from there. I mean, it only took a couple of more weeks until you got quite serious. So obviously I'm wondering what happened in between. When did you officially start dating? How did it develop to what it is nowadays?
We considered like the day of our first date to be the beginning of our relationship, but we technically weren't in like an official relationship, but we both weren't seeing anybody else. So we kind of went from that date. But it
Later.
was June 24th when we went on our first date. And then July the 30th is when he actually officially asked me, but we were pretty much already together by then. So there was a time in between, actually. So he asked me on his birthday, which is the beginning of July, July the 5th, if I wanted to be in a relationship. So you can see that that was like really soon after our first date. And even though I liked him and I was only seeing him, I was still feeling like maybe I don't know him well enough to say that we're exclusive or anything. So at first I said yes, and then I took it back and I was like, maybe we should wait a little bit longer. But he took it really well. Like he was super nice about it. But yeah, we didn't see anybody else in the meantime, so we were pretty much together.
May I ask, what was this a culture difference there as well? Or why did it feel too soon, Megan? Or
Yeah, I think it was a cultural difference because I feel that in India, they move a lot more quickly. Like they'll say, I love you really, really quick. Relationships just move a lot faster than they do here. So I think he was still a little bit in that mindset, and I was in my own mindset of like taking it a little bit slower. So it was, I think, kind of a cultural thing.
Yeah, the way it usually works in India is like before you even start dating someone, like we're like friends first, then we like get to know each other, and then actually like when you feel like okay, maybe this is someone that I can fall in love with, that's when like we ask them out, and the other person says yes, then it's almost like instantly official. That's kind of how things work in India. To be honest, like compared to that, I still took it a little slower with her. We met like a few times before, like I did ask her out, but when she need like a little bit of time, then I said like, yeah, like take all the time you want, like because I know I'm not going anywhere, and I had a strong feeling she's not going anywhere either. So I wasn't really like too worried about it. I was like, okay, I'll let it happen naturally whenever like she feels comfortable.
we'll slowly move to you living together, having two super adorable dogs. But obviously, there's much, 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 much more to tackle in between. Eventually, Megan, you felt, okay, now I'm ready. And then this is also when you officially started dating, being boyfriend and girlfriend. Also, I know that dating in the US is a little bit different than in Germany and obviously in India as well, apparently. But for American circumstances, you did move quite fast after all, right?
So I think we kind of took it at, I would say, kind of a normal pace. So we dated, like we just went on dates and kind of took it like that for like a year. And then after a year we moved in together. We did just date for about a year before
Yeah.
actually like taking any big steps.
How was the whole dating experience in regards to your cultural upbringing? Were there misunderstandings? I mean, obviously, any relationship is work, communication is key. How was it in your case?
So in the very beginning, it was, I mean, first couple of months were obviously like, we were in the honeymoon phase. Everything was like perfect. And then slowly, I think we both were like still a little insecure because of things in the past, like, the way the past relationships worked out, especially because she did date like another person who's not American, and he wanted to keep her a secret from his family. So she was like a little worried about that, like if I would not be like like to scene with her or something. And I also like because of my past experience, I would also like get a little jealous once in a while, like if she's like talking to some of her friends. So we did have like a few fights because of that at the very beginning, but slowly like we started communicating more clearly than like we've ever did before with anyone else that we've dated. So we have this right from the very beginning, like we kind of made this policy that no matter like what fights we have, we'll make sure that we're going to resolve it that day itself. We'll talk to each other and express like how it made each of us felt, like while the other person is like listening, trying to understand. And we made it a point that we'll never go to bed angry with each other. We've never went to bed angry with each other in the last 9 years. So
Yeah, we always resolve it that day. It's actually hard for me not to resolve it that day because if something is bothering me or upsetting me, like the first thing I want to do is just talk about it and work it out.
Yeah.
Like I can't keep I can't keep anything inside like that. We just have a really strong line of communication. So it's easy for us to talk things through because yeah, we don't like hide things
Yeah.
really. So
Another thing, probably we would fight about once in a while. This is also like a cultural thing. So there was this one time when she put up a profile picture on Facebook of the two of us where she was like kissing me on the cheek. I was actually like driving somewhere at the time, like I was like going out of town for work, and I saw it on my notification on my phone that like she tagged me in a picture. So I was excited and I opened it and I saw that and I immediately called her. Oh my God, like all of my family is on Facebook. And in India, usually like they're like very, very conservative when it comes to that. Usually like I said, arranged marriages are like very prevalent over there. So like a lot of people even look down upon like love marriages. I mean, my parents were quite okay with it, but I do have like a lot of other like conservative family members who were like still new to the concept at the time. So I was like, okay, what if they see it and like then they're going to like harass my parents, like what is he doing over there? Especially it's extremely rare in India to date outside your own race or religion or even your community. So I would tell her like, yeah, let's not upload such pictures right away. And she would get mad because I think because of her past experience too, where like the guy like tried to like keep her a secret. So she would get mad. She would be like, okay, is this like the past repeating itself again? But then again, when she told me how she felt about it, I've decided to let that fear go. I told my parents like if any of the relatives have any problem with it, like just ask them to talk to me, like not to harass you or anything. So that was like one of the other hurdles like that we had initially, but like later on we moved past it.
But you didn't, I mean, you told your parents that you're dating Megan, so they were aware of it when the picture went online. Okay, and so Megan, did you take it down after all, or you did resolve it and you addressed it?
yeah, I left it up. I remember he called me and then I kind of felt like bad that that was like a thing. So I think I made him feel bad and then he was like, "No, never mind. Like never mind, just keep it up." And I almost took it down, but yeah, I was a little upset. I wasn't angry, but I was upset. But yeah, I ended up just leaving it up. Like he said, he kind of just got over that
Yeah.
fear, I guess. I think in India there's a big mindset of what will our family think or what will our neighbors think or what will people say. So I think that's kind of
Yeah.
just something he grew up with and he kind of grew out of.
Very different to your upbringing as well. I mean, very much alike to how I grew up as well. In our culture, it wouldn't be an issue at all. But I understand that, Pratyush, yeah, in that moment you were shocked, I guess is the right word. And in your head, immediately, you had all these scenarios of how you're going to explain that to your parents, what, yeah, your family might think, because as you've just explained, some people might just look down on love marriage, and it's already like a sensitive topic, as far as I understand, in your culture, for not everyone, but for some. But how did you learn in general to communicate that openly, to address sensitive topics like that one? Did it come over time, or is it something you've learned over time within your previous relationships because you've learned what you want and what you don't want? So I would love to learn a little bit more about you, how to address difficult topics, especially if they are related to your different culture.
I was actually like the complete opposite of Megan before I met her, to be honest. Like, pretty much like a lot of my previous relationships that I had, the major problem in those were like the lack of communication, because I was someone that I would always keep things to myself and like just burst out at a random point when it gets too much. And she's like the opposite, like she wants to talk about it right away. When we first started dating and like when we started having our first fights or whatever, when she would talk to me right away about it, that kind of encouraged me as well. Okay, she's taking an effort to like maintain this good communication. I should strive better to do the same as well. At first, like I had to like force myself, like okay, I don't want to like keep within myself and like bring it up later. Like she's being honest and upfront about whatever bothering her, so I'll do the same as well. So it took me a while to get used to it, but I always forced myself to do it. But then after a while, like it just became second nature to me as well. So I gotta like credit her for that, like making me a better communicator.
And what would you recommend to someone who might be in a similar situation as you were in the beginning, where you just tried to avoid different topics and where it would just boil up in the moment you felt I can't handle it anymore? How do you get there? Any advice, any learnings you would like to share?
I would like to say, think of it in terms of like long term. Like, yeah, sure, in the moment, it seems like a big deal. But would this same thing matter the same in, I don't know, a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now? If it still would matter to you, like, so far away in the future, then yeah, it is a big issue. So resolve it right away. And if you don't think it's going to matter much at all, like even in a week or so, then it's not a big deal anymore anyway. So I would say like get over it, talk about it, and say like, hey, it made me feel this way, but I can see that it won't matter much in the long run. So maybe just like we'll let it go.
Yeah, I always say like just let me let me have my moment of being dramatic and then I'm done with it. Like I can't hold a grudge. I can't stay mad for very long personally, but I like to have my little moment like making it a big deal and then it's done. So
A lot of times she actually would have forgiven me long before she stopped being dramatic. She'd still act all dramatic, but like even I know that like okay, she's already forgiven me. She's just giving me attitude just to be dramatic.
I have to have my moment.
I mean, honestly, I used to be the person that was avoiding disagreements by all costs. So I'd be the one that would just like hold it in her. And then eventually at some point I couldn't anymore. So I had to learn how to communicate as well. I'm not just a very good communicator, to be honest. I can't go to bed mad. But for me, it was quite difficult, especially in the beginning, especially when you're in the honeymoon phase and you just want everything to be so perfect, because it feels so perfect. And then you realize, okay, we are all human beings. We all have our special effects. And this is when it gets interesting in a way that you learn, okay, there are certain things that are really bothering me. I do not deal with that, or I can't deal with that on the long run. Or specific, like, for example, not just when it comes to communicating. I mean, our stereotype as Germans is that we are very direct, but honestly, Nacho is very direct in a way that it can be quite painful and hurtful. And I've learned also that the reason why is because he would translate everything one by one from Spanish to English. So there's like this little barrier of translating, and then in English, in the English language, it just comes off very weird sometimes and very painful and hurtful, while else in Spanish it's just meant in a different way, and the other way around as well, from German to English. So I really had to learn for myself, or we had to learn, that there are just like so many things you have to balance in an intercultural relationship that just add so many layers to the way you communicate. And sometimes it's very difficult as well to pick out, okay, is that a personality thing? Is this a gender thing? Is this because of us communicating in a language that's not our native one? Yeah, it's definitely a learning. And even in our case, we celebrated our 8-year anniversary. So we are married since 8 years, since Monday. And even after 8 years of marriage, it's like, yeah, it's definitely never boring. And you are always learning something about your partner, but also about yourself, which I love because, again, never gets boring.
That is true. I think we've really learned a lot from each other and changed for the better, both of us in different ways. So it's definitely like a learning experience all the time.
So moving a little bit more forward, I kind of heard out that you, Megan, you did meet his parents, right? I mean, okay, you're together for so many years already. So I assume that you've met them a couple of times already. How was the first encounter with his family?
Like when I first went on my first date with him, I think right after the date, he gave me his parents' numbers, WhatsApp. So I started texting with, especially his mom, because his dad doesn't speak as much English. And back then I didn't know any Telugu, which is his mother tongue. But I would talk with his mom on WhatsApp. So we kind of were able to get to know each other a little bit through there. And then in 2018, I went to India for the first time. I was a little nervous because I was staying with them and I had never met them in person before or anything like that. So it's kind of nerve wracking when you're staying with, maybe your future in laws for the first time in a different country that you've never been to. So yeah, it was actually very easy though. They're really easygoing and they're really accepting and open minded. They were actually a love marriage too. So they don't have like that arranged marriage only mentality. So I don't know, they made it really easy and they're really accommodating for me. Like if I felt uncomfortable about something, like they won't do it. And they'll try to make me as comfortable as possible, like in their home. So I think we had it really easy, to be honest. And I mean, I get along with them just fine. So yes, I've met them like several times because they came to visit us in 2019. I think that was the next time.
Yep.
And then I've been to India 4 times total. So every time I go there, I stay at his, parents' house with him.
And you've learned to cook traditional dishes as well over the past few years. As far as I saw one of your YouTube videos where I think you cooked with your mother-in-law, right?
Yeah, if it was my recent one when I went to India, she kind of taught me how to make dosa. So I had made them before at home, but they would never come out right. They're supposed to be a certain, consistency, and I just never got it right. So when I was in India, she like helped me out. So I feel more confident now. But I can make some things. I don't actually do most of the cooking. He does most of the cooking, and he enjoys cooking, so I let him do that.
Yeah, she did learn like about 3 or 4 dishes that she
Mhm.
can make on her own, like Indian dishes. Like I said, I really love cooking, so whenever it's dinner time, I'm like, okay, you're my sous chef, I'm the head chef, so
I help.
she helps, and I do most of the cooking.
She's the cute decoration.
Yeah,
Kind of cute decoration.
that's right.
I make the rice. I keep him company.
Yep.
How was it the other way around? Pratyush to meet her family.
It's quite different in the US. They're all like open to dating before dating and like love marriage. And also, her parents were always like, they trusted her to make the right choice. So I kind of met her mom like pretty much right away, like I think on our second date or something. I mean, we were just like hanging out at her house for our second date. So I met her mom then, and then I met her dad for Thanksgiving that year, like the first Thanksgiving. So they were all welcoming, especially her grandma, her nan. She loves me so much. Like she's like the sweetest human being ever, and she considers me her own grandson. So all of her grandparents, her aunts, uncles, like they were all like super welcoming, and there was no, they never like treated me like an outsider. They were always like very friendly, and in that way we both are like very lucky that we had like very open and understanding families. I know like a lot of people go through like really like troubled times with families when it comes to interracial relationships, but yeah, we really got lucky in that aspect.
That sounds so lovely that you were welcomed with open
Yep,
arms
that's right.
by the family of your partner.
Mhm.
I love that.
Even his extended family members, when I came to visit India the first time, they were all very, very like opening and welcoming. And like, I didn't speak their language at all at the time, like I said. So it was a little bit more difficult because form any connections with them. But I tried my best. He taught me a few phrases at the time, so I was able to say a few things. But besides that, I just kind of sat there and smiled, trying my best.
Yeah, the first time she came to India though, and like when all of my family got to meet her, all of a sudden like the realization dawned upon them as well that okay, maybe Americans are not that different. Like, she's like talking to us like she's one of the family. So, because it is also like 99% sure for like all of my family, that was like the first time that they're interacting with a foreign person. Like, I think only my uncle was the only one that who went to a few countries for work. So like he had some interactions with other people, but like I'm pretty sure like most of them were like that was the first time they were like interacting with a foreign person, that too like in such close proximity. So I think before they met her, they had all these wild imaginations of like how an American person would be, because the only information they had was from like movies or like media. So they all had their preconceived notions as well, so it was kind of eye-opening for them to, oh, like, I guess like humans are the same no matter where they're from.
But did they raise any concerns or any questions towards you? Curiosity about the culture, or how did your family for Megan to visit?
So I think like before they met her, they were a little more like, had concerns like, oh, they're like already living together, they're not married yet. But once they did meet her, once they saw us together, they were kind of like, it kind of eased their concerns a little bit. They were pretty sure, okay, yeah, these both are going to get married. They're there for the long haul. So definitely meeting her eased their concerns. Before that, I mean, like I said, my parents were okay with it, but my it was still a little taboo for the rest of the family that like, hey, they're living in together, like before getting married, so, which is like a taboo thing in India. I mean, these days the mindset's changing a little bit, but it's still like very rare in India.
Yeah, but I love that they were open-minded and that they switched their point of view once they met Megan in person finally. And I'm sure everyone was just super excited. Now it's just like coming back home every time you meet your family in India, right, Megan?
Yeah,
Or how does it feel
They
like?
shower her with
Yeah.
gifts
they
and
do.
everything.
Food. They give you
Food.
so much food. Yeah,
They feed you.
they do feed you. The first time I went, one of his relatives cooked. How many curries did she make?
I think like she made overall 13
She
dishes
made
for one meal.
13 dishes.
So Indians are like, that's their love language. Like that's how they show that they love, they care, is like, they feed you a lot. We actually recently went to India too, just in February. We were there for 3 weeks. We were not hungry once throughout because we were always so full.
It's nonstop. You never feel hungry there.
I have to visit India. Sounds too good to be true, to be honest.
I love going. You should definitely visit.
Yeah, I just have to work on my handling spicy food scale. Quite German when it comes to this, salt and pepper. This is, and maybe a little bit of chili, but that's it. Argentinians are even worse, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they love everything quite plain. I didn't think that it can get worse than Germany, honestly. But yeah, no, Argentina is proof. I mean, they have the Italian influence, but it just changed so much over the years that, in my opinion, doesn't have anything to do with Italian food anymore. But that's another topic. So we're talking about you guys. A focus on you. I understand you got married, right? A couple of years as well.
Yep.
Yep, we got married in 2020.
So yeah, so we got engaged in 2019. We actually got engaged exactly 1,000 days after we first met, and it was COVID time, so we couldn't invite anyone because everything was under lockdown. It was June of 2020, so that's like peak lockdown era. But it actually was a blessing in disguise for us, because Megan always like dreamed of having like an extremely intimate wedding where it should just be like the wedding officiant and just the two of us, and COVID gave us the perfect excuse for that. So we decided like us, and it was like extremely simple as well. We didn't spend too much money on it because we wanted to save for our future. So we went to this beautiful park that is like close to our house. So we selected like a nice little area that had like a little waterfall in the background and like full of trees, greenery and stuff. So we selected that spot and we got like married there, and we didn't even read our wedding vows in front of the officiant because we wanted to, because she wanted it to be like just very, very intimate and private between the two of us. So like once she married us and like once she signed our marriage license and like once she left, like that's when we read our wedding vows to each other. And after all of that was done, like her cousin came and he took a few pictures for us. So that was very beautiful. It was like a beautiful summer day. It was just perfect. Like it was, we couldn't have dreamt it any better than that. But we do also have to had to like have an Indian ceremony because my family back in India, they all wanted to be part of the ceremony too. So once all the lockdown restrictions were done in 2022 was when we went to India, and then we had ceremony over there in front of my friends and family. And we had about like 120 guests at our wedding for the Indian ceremony, which by Indian standards is a very, very small and intimate affair because we're usually like Indian weddings, you could get up to like 500 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, I never was that person who dreamt of having a huge wedding. I always dreamt of having like a very small wedding. So I guess in both cases it worked. And I liked experiencing like the US wedding and then the Indian wedding. I definitely wanted to experience an Indian wedding. So that was a lot of fun.
I mean, it's a privilege to have two weddings. We did. I mean, okay, the second wedding in Argentina was just a celebration because my husband's family couldn't join the wedding in Europe. It was very spontaneous, honestly. It was a thing of just like we planned the whole thing in 4 weeks. But it was really, really nice to have a second celebration, to have his friends there, his family there. And it was also quite spontaneous and quite intimate. I love that you call it small with 120 people. It's just like, I know it is a small wedding for Indian circumstances, but for me, it would just be overwhelming.
There's a popular phrase in India called the big fat Indian wedding. So that's how weddings are supposed to be. To be honest, like we were not even going to invite more than 100, but we couldn't even find a wedding venue that would cater for less. They said like you can invite how many other people that you want, but we're still going to charge you for 150 people. So we said, oh well, if we're paying for that, like we might as well invite a few more people.
So it became a thing where family would just bring friends. Is that a common thing in India as well? So that you would just
Yeah, so we don't have like an RSVP thing over there. Like in our wedding invitations, what we do is please attend the wedding along with your friends and family. So it is like very common for you send out like one wedding card to one family, and then it's very common that like they come there not only with their entire family but sometimes they bring their friends, sometimes they bring their neighbors. So in India, like weddings are like a huge communal celebrations.
And then after you guys got married, I know you bought an apartment or a house in the US, right?
So we actually did buy the house shortly after we got engaged. So
Yeah.
this was it back in 2019. So we bought a house in Ohio, but 2 years later, like we moved states. So like we sold that house over there, and when we moved to North Carolina 4 years ago, we bought another house over here.
We were just in our house in Ohio for a year when we got married. And then we have a house here now. But before that, we lived in an apartment. It was close to when we got married, but we were living together in that house for like a year before.
And when did you adopt the two dogs?
Frank, the Beagle mix, we got him first at the beginning of 2018. And then towards the end of 2018, we got Maya, which is the American Eskimo, the white fluffy dog. So we got them both the same year. We were still living at the apartment at the time. Yeah, we decided to adopt one, and then we wanted one for him to play with. So we got
Yeah,
Maya.
our dog needed a dog. So
Yeah. I was nervous, but it worked out really, really well because they do definitely keep each other company and entertain each other.
Playing outside right now.
Yeah, they
yeah,
are.
probably knocking on the door. I let them out into the backyard so that they don't disturb us.
I love that. That's also still on our bucket list. One day to adopt a dog. It wasn't the right time yet because we were like moving from one place to the other or from one country to the other. But now I feel like I'm gonna stay here for a couple of years, at least 5 years, I guess. So it's time for a dog. I'd love to have a dog. 'Cause I'm definitely a dog person. Nacho is more like a cat person. We'll see how that goes because he wants like 3 cats. And for me, it's just like I need two dogs, I need a donkey. I'd love to have a pig as well, like one of those mini pigs.
Mhm.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
A lot of space, a little farm if it's up to me, just a small house, and that's all I need. A lot of animals.
We would have a whole army of dogs if it was up to him and we had money. He's the biggest dog person ever.
Yeah. I keep begging her like one more dog, but she says no.
I love dogs, but dogs are expensive.
Yeah, and a lot of work. I mean, by the amount you're traveling as well, it's always like kind of little challenge to make sure that someone is taking care of them. And
Yeah, it does get very expensive when we travel. Like, for example, when we went to India a couple of months ago, we were gone for 3 weeks. So that dog, like the cost for the dog boarding was actually like more expensive than one of our tickets to India. So,
oh,
yeah.
It's very expensive, and he wants more dogs.
we'll see. Maybe you're also going to have a lot of land someday. I mean, there are opportunities, and then also like a little farm, kind of. I mean, when not in the US, where else? I feel like.
If I won the lottery, I won't tell anyone, but there will be signs. There will be like a lot of dogs in my house.
What else? What else are you dreaming of? So when it's like, if you could envision your life in the future, and I'm sure you do, where would you see yourself? But also, where would you see you as a couple in the next few years? What's next for you?
I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to like settle down in one spot all the time. So eventually I would like to like move to like a different place, maybe even a different country, because I feel like the world is too big for us to like, just settle down in like one spot. Maybe somewhere in Europe you know, if we get the chance, like maybe not right away, but maybe in a 5 to 10 year period. So that's one thing that we do keep talking about once in a while. I mean, we're still a little wishy-washy on that because all of our family is over here, but that is definitely something that we're both a little open to.
Yeah, I think we both like a change of scenery a lot. So we probably will end up somewhere else. We do like North Carolina a lot where we are now, but yeah, I have that urge to like experience living in different places, and I would like to experience living in a different country at some point. So I would like to live maybe in a European country.
I mean, if we, for some reason, if we don't ever end up moving out of the US, then we might actually stay in North Carolina because it is a beautiful state that we're in right now. It's like very close to the beach, very close to very close to the mountains. So we have like a little bit of everything. We have like proper 4 seasons going on over here. Like for example, like when we were in Ohio, our fall used to be like autumn used to be just like 2 weeks long, and then we're like into winter, and like for more than 6 months a year it was cold or something. But here the weather is like perfect as well. I mean, if we do move, we'll probably like try to like find another place that is similar to this. If not, then we'll probably not move out of North Carolina because we just love the state a lot.
I don't
Yeah.
like the cold at all, so I'd like somewhere that's a little bit more mild, like North Carolina. So that's where I would envision myself.
Oh, you just come to Buenos Aires. It's not getting really cold in winter. But we don't have mountains and the sea is a little bit further away. So that's the downside of it, honestly. Otherwise, it would be just the place to live.
Yeah. I mean, if we do ever move to Buenos Aires, we'll probably have to like bring a lifetime supply of spices over there. We both love spicy food.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll just open your shop. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be your main customer, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
So, to come slowly to an end, this lovely conversation with you guys, I really appreciate your time. I have one more question for you, for everyone who's listening and or watching right now. If each one of you could share one advice for everyone who's listening regarding intercultural dating, what would it be?
My biggest piece of advice would be to be very open with your communication, but also be really patient, because I think a lot of people's nature is definitely a fear of the unknown. So they're probably feeling like this person comes from a different culture. How will they fit in? How will we bond with them if they're coming from a completely different background? But I think if you're very open and let them get to know the person, just kind of like face that fear a little bit of the unknown and realize that they're just a person just like you, and you can definitely bond and connect on some things. I think that eases it, but it does take time for some people to ease into that. So I would say be patient. Don't just try to keep it a secret and then drop it on them the last minute and expect them to just accept it right then and there. I think it's definitely a process with some people and it takes time. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
For me, I think I would gear my advice like a little more towards Indians, and because there are like a lot of Indians that come into US or like go to like different countries for their like higher studies and all. And trend that I notice is a lot of times they tend to hang out with people of their own country, even if they're in a different country. So I would say like do not be afraid to go and like meet and talk with people of not only the country that you're in, but even in that country, like there are international students or like people that are like come from like different countries and like living in these countries, especially in a country like US. It's like a melting pot. We have like people from all over the world coming and talking, so do not be afraid to like go talk to them. You will be surprised to see how much common you will have. You will see that like people everywhere like almost the same, like they all have the same thinking, same habits. It's like it's completely rewarding. Even if it's not just for the purposes of dating, it'll still enrich your life because you're getting to know all these other cultures. So it's probably like one chance that you get to experience all these cultures, like, especially like if you plan on going back to your home country, you might not get that chance again. Or there are like a billion people back home in India, so you're like the very few people that get a chance to actually live in a different country. So to just experience it to the fullest, like not just visiting all the places, but also integrating into the culture and like meeting people from around the world and learn about all these other like wonderful cultures that are out there.
I think like being open minded and wanting to learn like from both people, and you can find a common ground and learn something from each other is good.
Staying curious as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today, for the little conversation. I loved getting to know you a little bit better. For everyone who's listening or watching right now, feel free to contact them directly. I will link everything in the description as well as in the side note below. And then with this being said, I see that it's getting quite of dark right now. So have a lovely evening, I guess.
Thank you.
All right.